Whenever you see the host name of the switch followed by the greater than symbol, I always want you to remember that the switch is greater than you are. That's exactly what it's saying. Switch greater than. Well, greater than who? Greater than you are. Meaning that you have very limited control over this particular device. This is known as user exec mode, whenever you see that greater than sign. User exec mode is like having guest level access. You've accessed the device, you've officially gotten to this prompt, but now there's really not a whole lot you can do. So if you want to do more, you need elevated privileges. And there is a command we can use to dive into deeper portions of the Cisco IOS. And what is that command? That command is enable. When I type in enable, I am telling the device, give me full level access. So the maximum privileges you can give me to interact with this particular device. I know I'm in privilege exec mode right now because of the pound symbol that appears. The hash symbol, the tic-tac-toe symbol, whatever you want to call it. But it's now there telling me that I have elevated privileges. And by default, when you type in enable and you don't provide any other additional parameters with it, you get privilege level 15. So that is the highest privilege level you can have for this particular device. So what mode are we in? Privileged exec mode now. Privileged exec mode. What can we do in privileged exec mode? Well, there's a lot we can do. I'm going to use context sensitive help right now by typing in question mark. And it's telling me there's a different command you can perform in privileged exec mode. A lot more than you could ever imagine possible in user exec mode. We're not going to go through all these commands right now. But what are some of the things? What are some of the functions you can perform in privileged exec mode? Well, we can interact with the underlying directory structure. This is an operating system. There's got to be a directory structure in the background, and there is. It's based on Linux. So there's similar Linux commands that we can utilize to interact by creating files, deleting files, interacting with Flash, interacting with different functions and features of the device. If I want to do some saving, copying my running config to the startup config or saving it to an external server, I can do all of that from here. Run my ping commands from here, run my trace routes from here, telnet from here, SSH from here. So, everything I'm pretty much doing is not directly related to any type of configuration. I'm not configuring the device in privilege exec mode, meaning I'm not configuring protocols and services in privilege exec mode. I'm going to be doing that in other types of modes. For example, global configuration mode is where we move to if we want to start configuring our switch and its functions that it has available to us. So I type in configure terminal to get the global configuration mode. And I know I'm in global configuration mode because we see in parentheses here the word config beside the host name. Now notice that we still have the pound symbol there. Why? Because we still have our elevated privileges, privilege level 15 in this particular case. Now, what am I going to do in global configuration mode? Well, what I want you to understand about global configuration mode is that it really has two different purposes. Purpose number one is to give us the ability to configure parameters, configure features, configure services for this switch that would affect the entire switch. So if there's anything I want to do that would affect the entire switch, this is typically where you're going to go and do it, and that is global configuration mode. However, there are some commands that you would think would have some type of sub-configuration mode, but they don't. For example, like spanning tree protocol. Spanning tree protocol is going to be done here in global configuration mode. So what we like to typically say in this industry is that global configuration mode is for those commands that will affect the device as a whole, but also for those commands that they really didn't have any other place to go, so Cisco just threw them in global configuration mode. What if I wanted to interact with an interface like fast Ethernet 0/1 or 2? How do I interact specifically with that interface? How do I configure specific parameters for that interface? Well, we would use the command interface and then specify the interface name. So let me back up here and show you with context-sensitive help that context-sensitive help will display all the available interfaces for this particular switch that I could create or interact with. So fast Ethernet interfaces, gigabit Ethernet interfaces, loopback interfaces, port channels, all different types of interfaces that we could have. So if I want to interact with a specific interface, I type in its name, and then I type in its numbering. So 0/1 in this particular case for fast Ethernet 0/1. So we're navigating the hierarchy right now of our operating system. We started in user exec mode. We went to privilege exec mode. We went to global configuration mode. Now we're in interface configuration mode where we could configure all those different parameters that would directly affect just this interface right now of fast Ethernet 0/1. So we could set some bandwidth parameters, turn on or off CDP. We could mess around with speed. We could mess around with duplex. We could set up some IP parameters on it. So there's definitely a lot of different things we can do in a lot of different modes on our switches. So what do you really want to take away from this? What you want to take away is that there's no possible way you can memorize every single command in the operating system. But what you can memorize is where to go to accomplish the tasks you want to complete. So if you want to configure speed, well, do you do that in global configuration mode, or do you configure the speed on an interface? Well, you do it on an interface. What about duplex settings? On an interface. What about spanning tree protocol? Global configuration mode. What about VLANs? Global configuration mode. So knowing where to go to perform the configurations you need is probably more important than knowing the actual commands for those configurations. Why is that? Well, think about any other operating system you've ever played with, whether it's Windows or Mac operating system, doesn't matter. Why do I say that? Well, I say that because whenever you first were introduced to that operating system, what was the most important thing to learn? Where to go to perform the tasks you want to perform. Once you got there, then you could utilize help. You could utilize some sort of document that could assist you with configuring the features, parameters that you need to configure at that point in time. But you got to get there first. So being able to navigate the hierarchy on your switches is very important. Now on our switches, most of the configurations are either going to be done in global configuration mode or interface configuration mode. There's not a whole lot of other places you're going to be doing a whole lot of configuration. So that's what's really nice about the switches, global configuration mode or interface configuration mode. So it's either one or the other, and then you could use context-sensitive help to assist you with creating the commands to accomplish your goal. So, but right now I'm buried. Look at this. I'm buried in what? Interface configuration mode. So we went from user exec mode to privilege exec mode to global configuration mode. Now we're in interface configuration mode. So I'm deep into this hierarchy here. How do we back out? Let's say I wanted to back out one level. Well, the command we can use is exit. That backs me up one level in the hierarchy. Let me go back to interface configuration mode here. What if I wanted to go all the way back to privilege exec mode? Well, I could have typed in exit, exit to get back, right? Type it in multiple times, and you just keep going back up the hierarchy. But you also have the ability to type in end, END. That'll take you back to privilege exec mode no matter where you are in the hierarchy of the operating system. But there's also another key combination we can use. So let's go to global configuration mode, configure terminal. Now I'm going to type in interface fast Ethernet 0/1 again to get us back into interface configuration mode. And I'm going to use the key combination of Control Z. Control Z. Ready? Control Z. Look at that. It's just like typing in end. So those are two different options you have to move all the way back to privilege exec mode no matter where you are in the operating system. So if you're new to the Cisco IOS, take some time to learn where to go to accomplish the goals that you need to achieve.